Hi everyone! It's been a while since I've done any video tutorial art, and so I thought I'd jump in real quick. Since Wonder Woman is in the theaters right now and is a very popular theme for all the digital artists out there, I thought I would do some Wonder Woman art too. I'm going to do a little bit of advanced stuff and a little bit of slow talking so you can follow along and see how I do a lot of my art. Right now I happen to have Manga Studio Pro open, and if you were smart and happen to save your box from Manga Studio 5 or any of the other versions you have, you can go to the website and get Clip Studio Pro upgrades for free. And it's great stuff. They have been really good for customer support. I haven't done it yet on this machine. I have done it on my other machine, but today we're just going to use the older version. As you can see here, I have open in my 3D materials up here on the right. I had clicked on pose, and I have a giant list of poses here that I can use, and I really like this uppercut pose. I think it's pretty cute. So I'm going to click on this uppercut, and I'm going to drop it in. Well, maybe drop it in. Wait a minute. File, new page. That would help, wouldn't it? See, I am not always the smartest person. Drop in that uppercut. Yes. Ah, there it's thinking. And it will put it right there on the page. Now you can see you've got these different places that you can touch and move, and it's got this really easy bubble that you can work with. I'm going to click on this first thing here though, and I want to change how I view the character. I want to see her in a dynamic pose. That'd be looking up her skirt. I don't think we're going to look up Wonder Woman's skirt today. I think that would be pretty good. I like the arms, I like the legs. Pretty much, I think I may change that torso though a little bit. I'm just going to click right here on these hip joints and just click and twist a little bit. Maybe, yeah, click right here on the belly. There we go. And no, that clicks the whole thing. I kind of like that though. You can see there's a lot of experimentation with this because I don't use it often. So if I was really into posing, I would probably use Poser program. There we go. I like that a little bit better. And change that. There we go. I kind of like that. That looks good. I would use a 3D posing program. I know lots of people are experts at that and have some fantastic models at DeviantArt that you can enjoy. I'm just going to file and save this as a JPEG. See, right here on my desktop, and roll down, save it as a JPEG. It says new canvas, GURPy, GURP, 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 doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to save it. It says layer information will not be maintained. That's fine because I do almost all of my sketching and drawing in Sketchbook Pro, so that's fine by me. I'm going to close this. This program I use mostly when I'm building comic pages and doing my lettering and my bubbles, because it is just fantastic for bubbles. There is nothing better for doing your word bubbles and your text. Super easy to use. Alright, I'm going to open up my Sketchbook Pro 7, which is not the subscription version. This is the last version you could actually purchase before add image. Get on my desktop. You can see a ton of images there. And here we go. Gurpty gurp gurp. I'm going to blow that up. Now it'll only go to a certain max size. So then if I want to blow it up again, I have to blow it up again. Click quick transform again. I'll move it down and blow it up again. I like that. That works for me. The new Sketchbook Pro that you can get with subscription is a lot like this one, but with some newer, cooler features. And since I barely use those newer, cooler features, I'm just sticking with this one for probably a couple years till I get my money's worth out of it, and then I'll probably get the subscription. I'm going to take over here on this layer panel, and I'm going to drop that layer to the bottom, and then I'm going to fade it a little bit so you can just barely see what I've got going there. Now, as you can tell, this model is a male, and we're going to change it to make it more female. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to tilt it some so that I can work on the face. I don't know about you, but when I'm working on a new drawing or sketch, I really like to get the face done first, and it's because if I don't get the face done right, I get frustrated and I don't want to work on it anymore. I hate having an image where the whole thing looks great but the face looks terrible. So I always go and zoom in on faces first. Let's see. I've got a bunch of brushes I need to install in here that I have recently made, and they're not in here yet. Well, that will be for another video, I think. Alright, so I'm going to use this scroungy brush that is like a multi-purpose brush. I use it for everything. I use it for inking, I use it for coloring, I use it for drawing. I'm going to make it really small, and I'm going to blow this up really big. First thing I do, on my new layer, not on my old layer, always check your layers. I don't know how many times I have messed up my layers and been so unhappy about that. I'm going to make the bubble of the nose and the other side of the nose. Oh, the next thing I'm going to do, because I really need to remember what I'm doing here, guys, is File, Save As, and save this on my desktop as a PSD file. I'm just going to call it Garbly-Gluck for now. I don't need to have a fancy name for it. I'll change it later. Back to the drawing. I'm going to put an eye over here and an eye over here, because if you remember from one of our last videos I talked about, you can see here that you have the top of the ear and the eye and the bottom of the nose and the bottom of the ear line up. And here will be her mouth. I usually make some sort of little points to show where the majority of the mouth will be open. There's a bump here and a little not rainbow, Cupid's bow. But when women have their mouth open, I just make this really open little oval first, and that's just a good beginning for me. And some eyebrows, nice classic arch eyebrows that went a little too heavy. And then just add some hair in there, because you want it, showing my own eyebrow as an example, you want it thicker here at the front and thinning away at the back. And then don't forget the principles that the line of the nose, the line of inside the eye, and the eyebrow make a line. And then there's also a line between this point, the outer eye, and the end of the eyebrow. So those are very important. So if I was to use, here I'm going to just choose red. Here's this roughly. You can see the end of the eyebrow, the eye, and the nose. And undo that real quick. Those red lines that I just made. Come on, undo button. And one from here to the edge of the eye to the edge of the eyebrow. And just get rid of that real quick. Then I have to put my glasses on, else I can't see anything because I am blind at close up. Go back to black. Let's see, I'm going to draw that circle of the eye and then the dark pupil. And you can see I make these deep C shapes already with the little sparkle in there. It's just easier that way for me. Now you can also see these eyes are uneven. And I'm just going to change that by putting in eyelashes. And just start putting that little, if you look at your eye, there's a little tiny circle right in the very corner where the tears fall out for your eye duct. And that's just a small thing you notice when you're drawing. I think it makes people look a little bit more human, and not to skip that. On a younger face, you'll have this little touch spot right here under the nose, and so I like to draw that in just a little bit. I'm gonna get rid of that little piece I made right there. Alright, so this is a pretty decent start for a face. And just go around the edge here. Don't like that. You can see there's always drawing and erasing, drawing and erasing, drawing and erasing. I'm going to go ahead and just lightly draw the ear in. When drawing the ears, remember you have this, every ear is different on everyone, but generally you'll have a crease here, a lump here, and the hole here. And then there's a form that comes out here and it makes a bump. And you can shade in this area. Wow, that's a very big earlobe. You must be wearing some really heavy glasses there. But when you squish an ear like this, what you'll see is just this very top edge and a little bit of this back edge here. So what all I'm drawing is this hinting at of a form for her ear, and not the whole entire ear. And hit the save button because we do that often. Alright, now I'm just going to start sketching out that body. What I want to do is I want to put in another layer here. I'm going to stick it between the two. And I'm going to change my color to one of these blues that kind of match the sketching blue that we were looking at, because we're going to do some sketching. This pen can get a little bit bigger since I'm not using it as an inking device. Because what I want to do is I want to talk about changing this male body over to a female one. Now, these 3D models are great because they give you a lot of help, but they also make a couple mistakes, because when bodies fold, especially like this shoulder here, you see you've got a muscle here and a muscle here. And the muscle doesn't just make a dent here. That dent doesn't really happen. when you bring your shoulder up, you can see that the hump gets closer and closer to the head as you go. So this will actually move in over here and follow the line. Now, here on my body, you can see this is your collarbone, and it follows right out to that hump. So I've got my collarbone here following out to this hump, and this collarbone following out to this hump, just to show you what I'm doing. This seam of the armpit is pretty correct, but it's also showing it on a male body. The female body has a much smaller rib cage, and I'm just going to draw in a rib cage here just to give you an example. See, here's an elbow, and we're just going to put that deltoid muscle really close into that body. Let's see, if her belly button was here, and then there's hip bones here, she's going to look more womanly, like that. Much smaller frame than the male frame. Of course, what's important too is on women is breasts, and so she's going to need some knockers. To do that, we're going to draw the bottom semicircle. That one looks a little bit bigger. Now you have to remember that breasts are kind of like bags. They're not, you know, a big lump of fat that just has no gravity. And of course, the bigger the breast, the more gravity it has. So you don't get this. That's not going to happen. You get lumpy bags of fat. So the breastplate will be holding these bags of fat on. So just as an example, those are her bags of fat. Now, I'm not going to draw them like that, of course, but I want to get a general idea of where these little bags of fat are going, because we're going to be inking around them to make them look appropriate. And yes, I do draw a nipple on there because it helps me get an idea of where the bags of fat are going. Now, if she's punching and she's dropping down at the same time, for example, or jumping up, that's going to make a difference in how the bag of fat moves. All right, then she's got ribs and probably a six-pack. I don't know, six-pack on a woman is kind of small, but it's there. All right, then we've got this arm, which looks pretty good, and this arm, which also looks pretty good, and the fist. Don't think we're going to have to make too many changes. Here's the knee. I'm just going to make a rough kneecap, and there's a muscle that runs here, that runs up to the hip, and muscles here, and it's good to know those muscles so that when you draw them. Now, I don't draw my characters super muscled. I think that that's really not necessary with superheroes because they're strong by their nature. She's a goddess or demi-goddess or half-goddess, or doesn't matter what she looks like. You know, she could be super tubby and be super strong just because of her nature. So I don't tend to put tons and tons of muscles on my characters. I don't think she's going to the gym every day and doing a gigantic workout. She's active, but she's strong because of her nature, not because of how much iron she pumps every day and carbs and watches her weight and does keto and all that stuff. The other thing I like to do is I don't draw these toes. I like to go ahead and draw shoes, get an idea of what shoes she's wearing. She's a girl. Just put her in a little bit more of a heel than that, which means that foot will be more like that. And that ankle bone. Does that look like a reasonable heel to you? Yeah, I think that looks like a reasonable heel to me. I hate it when people put, you know, female heroes in these really high heels. Do you really think I'm gonna go running down the street to catch a thief or something in those heels? Nice 1-inch heel works. Still makes the line of the leg look pretty, but it's functional. Alright, so we've got a rough idea of what we're drawing here in blue. And at the same time, I'm just going to grab a different color of blue, and I'm going to start thinking about some clothes. Now, the classic Wonder Woman clothes. Let's get a darker blue. It's going to look let's see if I can remember this correctly. And then there's a bird. And I drew a little bit of Wonder Woman last night. There was a piece that came down like this, and the stripe on top. And this went down past her belly button. She had a belt some sort, and then there was this cute little skirt. Just gonna draw some skirt. See, if it's flouncing too much, then it covers up that leg. So I'm not sure I want it to flounce around too much. Because then you're like, well, where'd that leg come from? Now, this leg of the skirt will probably get pushed over a little bit because that's the leg that's dominant in the front. She has bracers on. Just make a real quick bracer on here, and something a little bit bigger here to denote the bracer. And she has a really awesome boots. In the picture I was looking at last night, there was some sort of armored piece on the knee, then the boot, and some sort of piece on the front. Just sketching what I remember. And there was a thigh extension here. Now let's see, what else did she have? She had, I'll change colors real quick. Actually, I'm going to add this to a different layer so I can easily erase it out. If I remember, she had a piece like this that went over the top. No, that's totally wrong. I think I've got it on the wrong side because I remember this side came out like this, and she had her lasso. So let's see, that would make it go this way. And probably over this. I I think that would be the best way to do it so that you can still see the bird. And keep it dynamic. Let's see what happens when we turn it this way. Is it still looking dynamic? Sure is. Because we've got this. I'm going to grab some pink real quick. Make this brush real big. We've got this stroke going this way. We've got her and her hair going. Imagine that. And then we've also got this line. So there's a lot of dynamic, neat movement going on in that image and that pose. I like how the eye moves around. That works for me. Alright, so go back, take that pink off of there. Yeah, maybe I should put that on a layer, then I could have just deleted the layer. Alright. I'm going to make one more layer. And I'm going to think about how I want her hair shaped. I'm just going to grab some brown. And I'm just going to scribble it in. Make this a little bit smaller. See, I'm still using the same brush. Now, let's see. She's got a part down the middle. I'm thinking. I know this looks like. What are you doing, Rona? That's awful. But when I make hair, I think about the shape of what I want first, and then I think about all the little curves and things like that. Because right now, if I imagine that she's jumping down at the same time, or maybe she's even jumping up, I really need to think about which way her hair is going. She should actually probably be jumping up this way, which means her hair would be dynamically going nope, don't like that. That's too full. Let's see, hair. She's moving that fast. She's moving really fast. You know, your hair would be like in the wind going ah. So it would be kind of plastered. But no one likes hair that's plastered because it's just not sexy, and we want Wonder Woman to be useful and cute and also a little bit sexy. So I want her hair maybe show you won't see it in the back, all of it in the back. And then maybe just a little bit of it, because as I recall, her hair isn't too long, but it is curly. So let's add some curly. Boing, boing, boing. Boing, boing. Boing, boing. Boing. I don't like that wave. That wave is too much. That's not so bad. That's not a bad shape right there. Now she also has, speaking of that armor, I'm going to grab that dark blue again. She also has the thing across her head. And so that might modify, as I recall she wears it under her hair, so that really isn't a big issue. Now I want to see more of her head. I don't like her hair too all over the place in her face. Alright, so that gives me an idea of what I want for her hair. Maybe just a little tighter there. So you can see the decision-making process. A lot of my decision-making process happens as I'm drawing. And I'm doing a lot of scribbling. Alright, so we've got the original ink layer on top if we look over at our ink palette, our layers palette over here. And now I'm just going to drop all these down together because these are all sketch layers. And I'm going to fade them again. So now I can work on my inks. Alright, so this is probably going to be part 1, and then I'll work on part 2 some more here in just a little bit. Thanks for joining me. See you soon.